Okay, we're in section 4.7 of Al Grosch's book, Developmental Math 2. We're going to do some practice for division of polynomials. We're really only dividing by monomials in this lesson. Starting with example 1, you can see the directions say simplify. So we're going to simplify in example 1 a monomial divided by a monomial. And again, to review that vocabulary, a monomial is one term. So we have one term divided by one term, monomial divided by one monomial. This is just a matter of reducing, okay? So I'm going to put a fraction bar, and I'm going to start by reducing my coefficients. 30 divided by 5 is 6. That would be 6 over 1, just 6. Then we look at each variable. A cubed over a to the 4th. Subtract the exponents. 4 minus 3 gives you 1, but that 1 will be left over on the bottom since there were more on the bottom. So we have an A on the bottom. The B's are the same, so they reduce each other both off. So we can take this and make it into 6 over A because we don't really need the A. The 1. We don't really need the 1. We need the A. All right, on number 2, same deal. Let's start with a fraction bar and reduce the coefficients. Well, negative divided by negative makes positive, so those negatives are gone. 12 over 24 is not 2, folks. 12 over 24 is a proper fraction because the numerator is smaller than the denominator. It's less than 1. This is actually reducing to make 1/2. So make sure you don't write it backwards and put the 2 on the top and the 1 on the bottom. X to the 12 over x 16, subtract those exponents, you get 4. There are more on the bottom, so the x's are going to be on the bottom. The y's, subtract those exponents, you have 2. They're going to be on the bottom because there were more on the bottom to start with. The z's, okay, this z0 is just going to turn into, remember, any exponent, any number, any base to the 0 power equals 1. So this z0 is just going to give you another 1 on the top, and then it's gone. So there is really no z's to reduce with this z to the 5th. So it's going to be there by itself. And now we can simplify a little bit. 1 times 1 is 1. So we're going to have 1 in the numerator of this fraction. Then 2, x to the 4th, y squared, z to the 5th. All right, number 3, we start having more than one term in the numerator. So this is a binomial divided by a monomial. When you do this, you can just divide this into 2 different fractions, and these 2 terms will each make a numerator of the fraction, and they'll both have the same denominator. So the first fraction is going to be 20x over 5, and then we're going to have minus 25 over 5, and of course that minus sign is coming from there. And then we just reduce each fraction individually. 20 divided by 5 is 4. And that x has nothing to reduce with, so 4x. 25 divided by 5 is 5. This should not be equals. It should be minus. 4x minus 5. Same idea here. We're going to start with 14x squared. It's going to be over 7x, since that's what's in the denominator, minus 21x over 7x. And then we'll reduce. 14 over 7 is 2. And that's a whole number 2. And if it helps you, write it like this, 2 over 1. Then the variables, 2, the exponent here is 1. Subtract them, you have 1 left. It will be on the top of the fraction, the numerator. So it looks like we don't really need this 1 down here. This is going to simplify to just make 2x. Now we're going to reduce this. 21 divided by 7 is 3. Again, you can write it as 3 over 1 if it helps you to keep the denominator open. These x's cancel, though, since they're 1 minus 1, or 0. They're the same thing on the top and the bottom, so they cancel. So this becomes 2x minus 3, because this is just a 3. We don't need those 1's in the denominator. Number 5 is the same type of question. We're going to make 2 different fractions. X to the 5th over 3x cubed minus 6x over 3x cubed. There's nothing to reduce with this 3, so we're going to have to keep the denominator open here. We can reduce these x's, subtract the exponents. You have 2 left over. They will be on the top. So we have x squared over 3. We can reduce this fraction here. 6 divided by 3 is 2. You can write it as 2 over 1 if you like. Keep that denominator open. Subtract the exponents on these variables. Remember, this has the invisible 1 on it, so 3 minus 1 is 2. So we'll have 2 x's, and they will be in the denominator. So this translates into x squared over 3 minus 2 over x squared, because we don't really need this 1 here. In number 6, we're going to have 3 terms. 9b to the 5th over 9b squared minus 3b to the 4th over 9b squared plus 18 over 9b squared. And then we're going to reduce each fraction. 9 over 9 reduces to make 1, so we don't need that. b to the 5th over b squared, subtract those exponents, you get b cubed, and they are on the top of the fraction, the numerator, so we would just have a 1 in the denominator, and we don't need it. 3 over 9. If it helps you to write it over here, you can reduce it. You can see it makes 1/3. So we'll need to keep that denominator open. b to the 4th over b squared, you subtract the exponents. There are more of them on the top, so those 2 that are left over will be in the numerator. All right, you're going to reduce 18 over 9. If you need to write it over here to see it, this is 18 divided by 9. This comes out to be a whole number because the numerator is larger than the denominator. It's more than 1. This comes out to be 2. If it helps you, write it as 2 over 1 to keep that denominator open. We are going to need that denominator because this b squared doesn't have any b's to cancel with in the numerator. So we're going to need the b squared in the denominator of this fraction. All right, all that simplifies to make b cubed minus b squared over 3. And all I did here was get rid of this 1 coefficient because we don't really need it. And we don't need this 1 coefficient either. So plus 2 over b squared. All right, let's go to number 7. Got another trinomial here. These are just getting more complicated the further you go down the page. So let's write 3 fractions. 6a squared b to the 7 over 3a to the 5th b cubed minus 3a7 b10 over 3a to the 5th b cubed plus 5a squared b to the 0 over 3a to the 5th b cubed. Now we're going to start reducing. 6 divided by 3 is 2. We can write it as 2 over 1. Subtract the exponents on these a's, you get a cubed in the denominator. Subtract the exponents on the b's, you get b to the 4th, but in the numerator, because there were more in the numerator. Subtract. All right, these 3's are going to cancel each other. They reduce to make 1, so we don't need them anymore. Reduce the a's, you get a squared in the numerator. Reduce the b's, you get b to the 7th, also in the numerator. So there's a 1 down here in the denominator. We're going to end up simplifying it off, but that's what's there. Okay. 5 and 3 do not reduce, so we're going to need to keep the numerator and the denominator for this fraction. Reduce the a's. By subtracting the exponents, you're going to end up with a cubed in the denominator. This b to the 0, remember, any variable, any number to the 0 power equals 1. So this b to the 0 turns into a 1 in the numerator there. And that means we have no b's to cancel this b cubed. Now we can just reduce them. See what we got here. What can we do here? We can get rid of this 1 we don't need. So we have 2b to the 4th over a cubed minus a squared b to the 7. Again, we don't need this 1 here. Plus 5 times 1 is 5 over 3a cubed b cubed. Well, that was fun. I think we have another one next to it. Okay, we're going to do the same thing with this one. We're going to make 3 terms out of it. So we have 12x to the 6th y over 6x to the 4th y minus 15x to the 5th y to the 5th over 6x to the 4th y plus 2x to the 4th over 6x to the 4th y. And we're just going to start by reducing. All right, 12 over 6 reduces to make 2 over 1. Reduce the variables, the x's, by subtracting, and you have x squared in the numerator. The y's cancel each other because it's 1 on the top and 1 on the bottom. All right, what do we have here? 15 over 6 reduces to make, they're both divisible by 3, so 5 over 2. Reduce the x's, you have 1 left in the numerator. Reduce the y's, you have 4 left because this one has an invisible 1 on it, also in the numerator. Okay, 2 over 6 reduces to make 1/3. The x's cancel each other because they're the same, and we have just this 1y here. So we can simplify just a little bit. Now, we can get rid of this 1 because we don't need the 1's in the denominator, but we cannot get rid of this 1. You always have to keep your numerator open. So this becomes 2x squared minus 5x y to the 4th over 2 plus 1 over 3y.